Good evening, everyone. So much for technology. Thank you so much for joining in on time. There are more people who said they'll join us, but it's taking them time for some reason. But then I'm sure it is the topic that got you all in this evening. As the quarters programs for ICF Bengaluru chapter begin, we thought a very meaningful program like this would be something that would interest all of us because somewhere I think all of us harbor that secret desire to become an author. Like Toni Morrison said, if there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. So, is there something that you want to write? And what is stopping you is the how process. Well, that's why we thought we'll get Bhavna in. I'm sure when you got the registration confirmed, you read about Bhavna, that all that was sent to you. But then speaking to her, she's somebody so full of life. An avid reader is how she describes herself, and who never saw myself or herself as a writer going deeper into coaching. She says writing became organic. So it is the coaching journey that has made her a writer today. And she says it's just beautiful pieces of jewels that have helped leadership and the experience with my clients that have made me a writer. So I said, okay, fine. So is there a fun fact about Bhavna everyone in the call should know? And she laughed and then she added on saying, I'd like to take time to be goofy, silly, because that's where the inspiration comes for me, and serious thoughts and ideas as well. Another very wonderful fact that she says that helps her remain who she is that it is very important in keeping both the child and the lover in you alive. Interesting bits from Bhavna on her introduction. Now, how was her journey, and how does every one of us here be inspired to become an author and find that author within? We'll hand it over to Bhavna. So, Bhavna, welcome to the evening. Anyone, everyone having any question, please put it on the chat box. Bhavna said it's going to be interactive. So whenever she pauses, we'll take the questions. So as and when you have anything popping up in your mind, just put that question across and Bhavna will definitely try and answer every one of them. Okay, so Bhavna, the evening's yours, lady. Carry on.
Thank you so much, Rashmi, for that introduction, and a very good evening to everybody. It is so wonderful to be with your tribe, with the fellow coaches. And I'm doing this after a while because it, I was obviously underground for some time, but it's so nice, and I'm so thankful to ICF Bangalore chapter for, giving me this opportunity. So we will not waste too much time. First of all, this is my new book that has just recently been published, and it's doing extremely well. I am going to share my screen with all of you to start our session today. Any housekeeping rules? I think the usual, if you can all keep your, mute on, that will be, keep your microphone muted, that will be fantastic. So I just want to start by saying that anyone can write, like Rashmi rightfully pointed out. Though I read a lot as a child, I never really saw myself as an author or a writer. And it's thanks to coaching that this came about. I think that coaches are the best people to convert into writers, because I think we have all the fundamental qualities of what you require in writing, which we will talk about. A little bit about me. This is my career 2.0. I used to be an engineer, and I lived in the US for many years and worked in software development. And if you were to talk about larger chunks of time, I was a mom. And actually being a mom, I realized what a great mom I was. And I wanted to continue being that for the rest of my life. And that's how coaching found me, or I found coaching. At the moment, I write a lot. I'm doing a lot of speaking assignments. I have fulfilled that dream as a coach, which we all do when we start, of actually having to, having a roster full of clients. And And it's quite a handful to manage all of that. I also serve on a lot of compliance committees and various, I'm on the board of directors of a not-for-profit. The book I want to share with everybody today, and I want, so my intention as a coach for our session today is that I'm hoping everyone moves forward in their journey as a writer or as a potential author, and including myself after our session. So collectively, all of us who are so interested in this particular area, we come together. The book is quite very rich from all of the coaching clients that I've had over the past 7 years almost. And also it's full of stories, fables. There's a quiz which tells you how politically savvy you are. And while the topic is quite controversial, but the book is actually a positive take, and it is primarily a coach's perspective. There is a section in the end, there's illustrations, jokes, and there's a section in the end which is a vocabulary that is appropriate for the workplace. The first book that I had written, so this book is published by Sage Publication. The first book that I had written was called Team Decision Making, which was part of a larger vision. I didn't know how to write. I was really frustrated. I was far more frustrated with this book rather than with the new, big published book. But this, I would say, while this was a smaller, maybe fits a smaller piece in the big tapestry of my work, this book was what led the publisher to reach out to me, and they asked me to write the second book. So I just want to come to the agenda real quick. I want to cover why should one write. I'm going to focus on non-fiction books. So if anybody is interested in fiction, some part of the path might be similar, but if you have any questions around fiction, I may not be able to answer them, but I can, dig up some answers for you. The idea, all of our ideas, what could we all write about? Planning the writing process, and publishing. I want a quick, input in the chat. So we may not have time left for publishing, but would you rather I focus on the writing process or the publishing aspects of it? I just want a quick understanding from all of you. Rashmi, if you could, let me try to see if I can.
Yeah, in fact, Bhavna, they're saying both. Quite a few saying both. Some people saying writing process, but writing process then publishing. Writing. So yeah.
Okay. So we will focus on the process. I'll try. Publishing is a wide topic in itself. I will try to focus on. You can ask me questions around the publishing some more, and I'll be happy to help there. A lot of learning for me, especially as I'm promoting the book in the last couple of months as well. So I'll be very happy to share all of that. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes, I can go on till 8:15 too, if there is interest. So let's start with, let me ask all of you this question, and I want everyone to pause and, I'm sure you've had a busy day, but, this is also, as a coach and a master certified coach with ICF, I cannot not do this. So let's take a few minutes to connect, and why would you want to even be a writer, or what made you sign up to attend this session and, spend an hour of your precious time for our session today? So if you could take a couple of minutes to think about it and then share it in the chat, that will be fabulous. Vijay says he has something to say to the community to understand the process, the joy of expressing oneself, to work on creative flow, for my coaches and friends who are writers to communicate. Sushma is already writing a book. I'm sure many of you are. In such forums, I typically see that there are many people who started the journey somewhere. So great. So I think there is an aspiration to write in some and making it known to others. Someone writes anecdotes related to office life. That's exactly what I also have in my book, Manoj. And there is a lot to write about. That's true. Sparking creativity. Excellent answer. Yes, it is all about creativity. Like I said, I think coaches are the best people because they understand how to straddle between, the tangible and the intangible, the goal and reality versus the dream, the creativity versus the actual discipline to act, navigate those particular areas. So I think that most coaches aspire to be writers, and they can become writers, just like how I have stumbled upon this. So as we move forward, let me just cover all the reasons that typically happen, and then I will share you the secret reason that I discovered after writing this book, which is about 65,000 words with illustrations, reaching out. I have Marshall Goldsmith, I have Dr. Jagdish Sheth, who's a Padma Bhushan. I have his recommendation. I have business leaders who have read the book and given their feedback on it. So all of that, encompassing all of that, what are the reasons why people want to be writers? Is they have something important that they want to say, or just something that they want to say. I also work with a lot of business leaders who want to understand how to start marketing themselves on LinkedIn for their executive presence and becoming a thought leader. Maybe that's one aspect, whether it's for hiring or for promoting their company, all of those reasons. So they want to develop their thought leadership, and now even they are forced to become writers. You want to build your personal brand. Again, applies to coaches as well as business leaders. You want to help other people with the writing. That was a big part of what I felt like I wanted to do. I'm doing all of the above. You want to be known as an expert in your field. One of the best ways, and trust me, I'm realizing that as the book has come out, it's doing very well. Thankfully, it's been picked up by a lot of influencers. Like Print has done a review and they have 1 million subscribers. So you're elevated as an expert to a whole another level, because everyone recognizes that being a published writer is not a walk in the park, though it can be, and you need to do that walk in the park to write. You want to become a speaker, and you want to learn new tools. There is a lot that I had to learn when I self-published, to be honest. There were also tools that you learn to organize your writing for, and those were some of the tools I started on. I forget even the name. Some people use Asana, to organize their writing. So there's a lot of tools to be learned, and some people have always aspired to be a writer. But the main reason that I think we all want to write or want to become writers is because of who we become in the process of writing. And I know this sounds like coach talk, but I cannot tell you what a cathartic and a transformational process it has been for me. I did not expect it. At one point, I was enjoying it so much that I got blocked, and I had to get coached to kind of overcome those blocks. I have gotten coached throughout the journey because it would have been very difficult to do it without that. So moving on, those of you who are still not completely convinced about why you must at least consider writing or take it to the next level, if you're already writing, or invest in this process, because there's tremendous benefits. Your personal credibility, like I said, people view you differently. They just start respecting you more, whether it's your family or your clients or your peers. Like I said, all of those things around brand building, thought leadership, becoming an expert. This is sure shot proof. The business credibility, like I said, more leads, employee morale if you're a business leader. And it gives a clear picture of what you're all about. So my book is all about office politics, but honestly, when the publisher reached out to me, I wasn't very sure myself. And then I thought, hey, why not? I was pitching ideas like executive presence, or they wanted me to write about tactical versus strategic, some different ideas that they were pitching, but they know what sells. So we settled on this. These next few slides I'll go through quite quickly, because I think you all would know, but I just want to still highlight this so that you're aware of which direction you need to sort of focus on. So most of the non-fiction writing is facts, and I want to explain how I use the facts. So what would happen was that when I had a session, and sometimes I would be amazed by what came out in the session, and that would stay with me, and I would think that, oh, this happens to many people. And so what immediately you put it down in your phone notes. So as we go deeper into the process, I want to explain how the process works. It's not a one-time process, of course. So these are real facts. And again, as coaches, we have the talent, the practice of observing patterns, observing what's going on with the client. And because of that, we will make good writers, because we have that strength of being aware and observant of the patterns and of conflicts or of situations. And because of that, that's what makes an interesting story, right? Isn't it? So I think it's just about kind of picking those relevant facts that can help a lot of people. It is knowledge. There are so many people who are struggling with similar issues. There is a lot of inspiration, of course, if one person can overcome this. Like, I'll give you an example, like for women leaders, when I work with a lot of women leaders in their coaching, as you know, or executive presence, there's a need for assertiveness among some people, right? They're either too aggressive or too passive. So what is it what are some of the areas that they need to look at to become more assertive, not go towards aggression or passiveness? And so just, thinking of those kind of things or situations in real life, if you put it out there, it's so valuable. Nobody openly talks about these things. The how-to is also non-fiction writing. So how do I, ask for a promotion, or how do I work from home? So those are things that we are seeing in our clients. And these are nothing but stories based on facts. Research is something, so now, I mean, I'll get to the whole process part of it, but I just want to explain the building blocks of even my book or the articles that I write in the Fortune India, Forbes India, HR magazines, a lot of forums when I write in L&D platforms. The origin of my writing is usually an idea that comes from either a leadership development workshop or a coaching session. You then start building upon that idea. And sure enough, if you narrow down on assertiveness and what are some of the factors that prevent that assertiveness, maybe it's a belief that, blah, 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 whatever. You then can go and look for some existing research in journals. You take membership of certain journals, and you can find research very relevant to that particular idea. Maybe it's in a different area. Maybe it's related to something else, but if it's relevant to you, it's research using the examples of case study. Most of the examples that I use, a lot of them do come from real life session, ideas, and your own insights, of course, and your own experience. So it is a big part. Like here, I want to bring it out again. Let that coach in you come out. I know sometimes as coaches, we like to learn so much, we study so much, and we are there in the background because it's all obviously confidential. But this is the best way to showcase all that private work you do without naming any names. You're just sort of sharing the ideas. So I want to talk about the process here. Basically, it's to simplify it. Like, obviously, this is a topic which is simple, but can get so evolved and complex. Writing is about coming up with ideas, drafting those into pieces, and then editing those pieces and polishing them to publish them. Okay, and I'll share the areas where you can start publishing, which is what I did. I started from scratch, like I said, as a 2.0 career, just did the coach training, and then didn't know what to do. And I managed to get this young girl who was an intern, and she would come to my house every day for 2 hours, but I had all this passion and I wanted to do something with it. And we would sit and we'd say, okay, what do we do today? And then she'd say, hey, I said, LinkedIn is what we need to develop. LinkedIn will, and it sure did. reach out to me and we can do another session later on how to bolster up your LinkedIn profile to get business. And then she said, hey, you know, some people seem to be writing. And that's where the very first idea came up from, that LinkedIn has all these different components, and writing posts is an important part of it. So that's where it all started for me. The idea for the book, to be honest, so what happened was I started writing for LinkedIn. I would write whatever random things. In fact, I'm embarrassed to go back and read what I have written in the beginning. And I met a friend who ran a recipe channel and had been working for 5-7 years and had some million+ subscribers. And I met her once, and she says, write, and then just reach out to people and say, hey, I want to write for your platform. And I was like, is it as simple as that? And she said, it's as simple as that. So, and that's exactly what I did. And you will not believe it, that people often will say, they will read your writing. Of course, the quality of the writing has to be good, but it will not be good. It will certainly be good if it's real and if it's coming from a genuine, pure place, right? And then they just say yes. So last year, the publisher reached out to me based on the article. I have some 200+ articles all over, and they read the few articles and they reached out and said, hey, would you like to write a book? Then I was not looking to write a book at all. And that's how it happened. And then we brainstormed, and they asked me to, you know, pitch a proposal, which I'll cover later on how do you go about writing a proposal. But in all of this, the important thing is to write. I think that's where most people sort of get stuck, because just write for the sake of writing to begin with. So with that, can I please invite everybody to think about an idea that is most fresh in your mind that you would like to write about. And if you could share it with us, that will be fabulous. But it could be as simple or as complex. It doesn't matter, but I would love to hear some of the ideas that are floating around in the collective right now. And I'd be most excited to hear. So if some of you can start sharing some of those ideas. Honestly, Bikramjit, it's not as time consuming as you would think it is. So that's again a belief that maybe we need to get rid of. And I will share how so. But an idea. What is your idea? We can collaborate, Surekha, on part 2.
Sure.
Of this book. मैं और मेरी तन्हाई, what creates balance. मैं और मेरी तन्हाई, Lata, is a great place to start with, to be honest, and you need that tanhai, of course, to start writing. Anybody else? Coaching journey is a great. I hope to do that too someday. Short stories. Oh, Suraj, please send it to me. I want to read that. Becoming the best version of oneself is definitely endless book era. And good to see you here. Fabulous. Leadership fables. That sounds super interesting. So it sounds like most people, life is easy and simple, and it truly is. And I'm testimony to that because of the way the book happened for me. Effortless, easy and simple, and a joyride. Bikram, yes, that is how my book started, Bikramji. It was a commentary on different things that I did come across in my clients. Somehow, of course, it was all tied towards the corporate world. Simple, yes, but simple is not easy. Simple can be easy. Let's talk, Ira. Yes, simple can be easy. It's possible to be simple and easy. So that's fantastic. So I think most people have some idea. Those who do not, try to find something that resonates with you and think about what would happen. What will the world miss out on if this doesn't come out? Or maybe if it's one person. To be honest, in the beginning when I wrote on LinkedIn, the one like I got inspired me to write the next one. And that was like the high point of my life. And sometimes people would find my phone number and send me a message and say, hey, you know, I read this and I really liked it. And that would obviously edge me on. And whenever I was with myself, really frustrated about how to take my business forward about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, the only answer that always came was just write. So it is a calling I'm answering, and that's when it's easy, I think. Like I said, look, listen, learn. That is the fundamental rule for the idea stage. Okay, so there are different stages. There is the idea stage, which is most important. Ideas are brutal. If you don't grab them, somebody else will. So often I have an idea before going to bed and I think, oh, I'll remember it tomorrow morning, but that never happens. If you find that there's an idea that's interesting enough, the thing that works for me is I just use my phone and take notes and just put a blurb around that idea. And when that happens, I just sort of later sit down and I evolve and further write that idea. So basically, if you can't find your own ideas, that is perfectly okay too. Very often, what stops writers, and we look at what holds us all back. What are some of the things that prevent us from writing? And one of them is that we want it to be original, and I've struggled with that myself. But what is even original after all, right? So again, that's the ego mind talking. Look at what's trending, what's useful, look what other authors are doing. Is there a gap in the market? Why is your idea different? Some of the things that might help you. Sometimes your idea doesn't need to be different, but if that's what rocks your boat, try to find different ideas. This is the most interesting part of the process that I want to talk about mainly with all of you who are, highly evolved in your own emotional intelligence, many of you in your spiritual intelligence, social intelligence, and obviously the IQ is there, right? So I want to know, is it a creative process or a cognitive process? And I know I don't need to ask you this question because we all know it is, of course, both, right? What I want to talk about is how and where to sort of learn to recognize when it's creative and when it's cognitive. And because one without the other is not going to really serve the purpose. So very often I've struggled when I have a deadline to submit an article and I don't have anything, right? Or I have an idea, but I'm not inspired to sit down and finish that piece. So it is both, of course, and let's see how it's both. So the creative aspect of it is allowing the ideas to flow through it, flowing through it, and then capturing those ideas at that point in time, something that interests you, excites you. Writing for yourself. Very often when it comes to a book, and I've worked with several coaches who want to write books as well, and I'm working with them right now, most of the time, people are thinking about actually just writing for other people, because as coaches or even writers, we're so empathetic, you want to do things for others. To be honest, it's best to recognize early in the process that you're writing for yourself. You are right, because it's a commitment, it's time, it's effort. And if you are not going to acknowledge to yourself that you're doing it for yourself, then there are times when maybe that child in you is going to throw a tantrum. Cognitive aspect is building upon those ideas, actively searching for supporting evidence or stories, or maybe even research around those ideas and topics. The cognitive aspect is about writing for others, because you have to polish it. You cannot give them like a rough, ugly piece, right? So while you are writing, you have to also keep your end user in mind. But that's the part that I want everyone to understand, that it's both. You're writing for others, you're writing for yourself. You're allowing the ideas to flow through, you're using established data and ideas. The creative aspect is about enjoying the journey, and the cognitive aspect is about finishing the piece. So as you can see, it's straddling both, right? And there might be a lot of questions around this. So if you have any questions, feel free to sort of put it in the chat, because I want everyone to sort of, take a note of how this applies to them. So to give you my example, I started when I had to finish the book, right? I had to submit first few chapters, which was sent to the CEO of the publisher in the UK to decide whether they wanted to give me the contract or not. And so that meant that there was a 1 month deadline to do that. So the first thing that I did was I reached out to a lot of contacts and I just interviewed them. And I asked them a lot of questions around politics, and then one thing would lead to the other. And then one chapter sort of helped pave the way for the next chapter. So the second chapter in my book is politics at the 3 different levels in an organization. What are the typical political scenarios in the senior level? What happens in the middle level and what happens in the junior level, right? There's more. So if you read the book, it's very clear. It's very crystal clear because the mindset and the leadership has changed. So basically, so that's what I'm trying to say, Meenakshi, that highly creative people have a problem of last mile connectivity. How do you address it? So you have to know that the creativity alone is not going to be enough. And unfortunately, this comes back to our coaching environment, the coaching philosophy of really trying to achieve our goals, right? So if your goal is strong enough, if you're vested enough in the goal, if the goal is tied to a larger vision, then you will be able to do what it takes to sort of bridge that gap to the last mile connectivity. And trust me, with a book, it's not just about last mile connectivity. Every chapter would be like like a cave that you enter and you don't know what you're going to come out with. I want to especially talk about this chapter on influence and personal power, and how do women experience power as opposed to men, right? I had to do a lot of deep diving work for even myself to understand that. Some chapters were a breeze where I spoke to a couple of people and they gave me story after story, especially chapters on relationship, because they had worked in the corporate environment. I didn't know things. I was learning about unions and things like that. So some chapters pretty much wrote themselves, and some chapters I was like really, really stuck. So you have to take the path that comes in front of you, of course, step by step. Like the goal that you want to go from, say, Bangalore to Goa, but you don't know which car is going to come in front of you. So it's really about being really clear about the goal, being aligned with the vision constantly emotionally, and then giving yourself space for the creativity. So I realized that when I sat on a certain couch in my house, I would write the articles, and I was working for the articles, but it wasn't working for the book. So I changed my position for the book. I changed the timing for the book. And of course, like I said, I was constantly getting coached. So this is for everyone to sort of understand, which I was blind about it, and this really helped me. And this can help you start, which is what is the word limit? Like, how do you distinguish the different categories of writing, right? So the longer non-fiction book, like I said, mine is 65,000 words, but I also have illustrations and I have a quiz, and then I have, so I think it came to a little short of 65, but that's the number of words that I had to write. 300 words makes a nice LinkedIn blog post. Sometimes it can even be a list. So those of you who feel completely not ready, just create a LinkedIn post and say, the top 10 books that you must read in this year, or top 10 books for leaders. Just start with something as simple as that, but start. That's the important thing. Take the first step. So the 2 big steps, take the first step and align with your vision on why you want to write. I also do a fantastic vision exercise. Maybe, hopefully I can share that with people at some point in future. 1,000 word magazine article, short ebook or print book, 10,000 words. That's what my first book, Team Decision Making, is all about. Good size, like I said. So you get the gist. I won't spend too much time here. Planning your writing. This, I think, is very unique to each individual. Some like to work under deadlines, some don't. I don't, but I do believe in tapping into the blocks that are happening. So there were days when I had to give myself deadlines, when I was just not in the mood, So there are times when I had to give myself deadlines. There are times when I set a time, and there are times that didn't work. So I'm sorry to be so vague, but be open to trying different things that work. Because in the process of something like writing a book, because the creative element is so heavy along with the cognitive element and the way they need to work together. And I think that's why it's so special to write a book. That is the primary reason why it's so special. Choosing a unique place to write, like I shared, for me, that worked sometimes. And then building my support group really helped. So these were the 4 areas that you can look at for when you go ahead and when you start to plan your writing. Support group, I cannot thank my supporters enough, the people who helped me. For the first book, I was so incapable. I was so green in the process of writing a book, but I had such a strong vision that you've got to do it. And I got myself coached, and somebody connected me to another author and a small time publisher. And the publisher gave me some information, and the other author said, hey, why do you want to write a book? Why not just collect your articles, put it together and self-publish? And I cannot tell you the relief I felt when I heard that. And I looked for ghost writers. Because my vision was so strong and my capability was so low. This was about 4 years ago. I joined writing groups. I looked for book coaches. I looked at other coaches, mentors, and I struggled and struggled. But in the end, I did manage to put together a book. And now I know why that was so important. Because that was a book that convinced the publisher that I could write a book. So it's sometimes the insignificant small actions which lead to bigger things. So reach out for that support. Now coming to the really critical part, and maybe Meenakshi, this will help you as well with the question that you asked. I want everyone to inquire at what holds them back. Time was one of them. Please don't say time again, because if the idea you're capturing when you're in the shower or walking, and then you're sitting down for another, say, half an hour with that discipline to build on that idea for an article, it's not as much time. So let's push that away and say time. I did not think of a co-author. At times I would resign and hope that I had a co-author, but I also know that my entire journey has been that of a solopreneur right now. In fact, I'm trying to find the right match for the digital team and my courses, my leadership courses, and I have the outline for a course on office politics and all of that ready. But I think my entire journey of writing was again more for self-discovery of becoming who I am, that a co-author, maybe down the road I will do it, but not this time. So what holds us back? Come on, we all know this. I can bring a big list out too. It's the overwhelm of how to go about doing it. That's true. Procrastination, again, procrastination, underneath that procrastination is something that is causing that procrastination, right, Vikramji? Perfectionism, laziness, lack of ideas. I feel like I have nothing to say. That's okay. You can use somebody else's idea. Process, clarity, self-confidence, yes. Wordiness, not sure of the content. These are exactly, I want to sort of share with you that who am I to write? I can't write. What holds us back is the fear of not being good enough, the fear of being judged, of judging oneself, which comes to wordiness, lack of clarity, not being at ease with the process because we don't know it, we haven't done it, waiting for a great idea, again, leads to perfectionism, Suraj. Needing to be original, the self-belief that who am I to write, like I don't know how to write. So, as we all know, that these are the only things that's stopping everybody from becoming that writer. And they stopped me at times too, right? So, I've been through all of this in the beginning, and it is about working through all of this. And they come up at different times in different forms, and sometimes you don't even recognize it. But eventually it's this. If you can take a picture of this, please take a picture of the slide, because next time you stop yourself from writing, it will be one of these reasons where and then it's your choice, right? Whether you want to work through it and let this stop you from becoming a writer, or do you want to sort of stay in that comfort zone of, living with that particular resistance within you. There are great things as I'm noticing, and I would really urge all other coaches, because like I said, I think you guys would make the best writers. Going more into the process, I think I've said enough, but which I shared already, I will click through this, the outline, 300 words a day, start small. I'm going to go through this faster because I want to focus. We have only about 15 minutes more. Stay open to all possibilities, and above all, be kind to yourself. That is the most important thing to remember. Coming to the whole publishing part of the piece, you can ask me questions later around the process if you're interested, but LinkedIn is a great way. Nobody stops you. You can just start putting a post. There might be people who, even if it helps one or two people, okay, I can take my time then. I hope everybody is, doing all right, or am I in the right direction? So just put in a note if you think I'm not. Perfectly okay to sort of tweak the conversation. Many companies have a newsletter. Come out of your comfort zone, agree to write a piece. Force yourself. If you have a deadline, then you will be forced to write. Start a company, a personal blog on WordPress for free. There are lots of blog sites. Start that and share it on LinkedIn. If you think that, thank you, John. So do that. I also have put my writing on Medium, and Medium pays you. So if somebody wants to just sort of make a lot of money, you can even, it's not that easy. I get like hardly any dollars because medium.com. Medium.com is a fantastic forum for excellent writing. So if you really want to become a writer, read some of the articles on medium.com. They are really well written, and you can even monetize it. So depending on how well you start writing, you can monetize your writing on Medium. Write for journals, and if you feel that you are not ready right now you're hesitant, you're holding yourself back, you're not willing to put yourself out in the open, at least start writing for yourself. Write a journal. So just start writing a journal, if nothing else, but just start and just write and see how you feel and see how it makes you feel once you write. And then to be able to share it, I mean, I got a message from somebody who read my book, and they said, oh, I've read the first chapter and I'm so excited, and I think what you're saying is so true, and I want to get you to do a talk in my company. You can imagine how wonderful that feels, right? So there is a lot of fabulous things at the end of this journey. So I would definitely encourage everyone to sort of get on it. Coming to the publishing piece, once you've graduated from, so it's, the universe will give you things when you are ready for it, and sometimes you have to work a little harder, sometimes you don't have to work hard at all. It all depends on many things, of course, but the publishing can be viewed as, of course, self-publishing and traditional publishing. Now, self-publishing has become a big boom where you now don't need anybody else, just you and your writing, and you can put it out there for people to read, which is what I did. And for that, the platform that you use is Amazon. It's called kdp.com. It's Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing. So go to kdp.com, and there you will be able to open an account. You get periodic, you can see the reports. They have a very simple interface which tells you, you can even design your book cover. So I designed my book cover on Canva for the first book, and I put it on KDP. Yes, kdp.com. That's Kindle Direct Publishing. If somebody can type that out as well. From Amazon now, when I did my first book, it wasn't possible to get a print version through Amazon. So I actually went to a printer, and I had to format. That takes a lot of work, formatting it for the printer version. And I went to Printo and I got some copies printed. And when I would go for my workshops, and honestly, I started getting more facilitation work, because obviously your profile becomes stronger, right? Because you're an author. They don't ask whether you're self-published or not for those kind of assignments. Now, if I go as a speaker, they will want to know whether you're self-published. So there is a big difference in your credibility between becoming self-published as well as traditional publishing. However, self-publishing is a great way to get started, and then you can move on to traditional publishing. Because traditional publishing is obviously more demanding. There's a lot of reputation attached with the publisher. So that's why they want to make sure that you're definitely like an author who people would like to read from. There's Notion Press, there is Pothi.com, if somebody can type those. On those platforms, you can upload your document and it's print on demand. So that's excellent way to sort of get books. You know, you don't have to make that investment of printing the book. It gets printed only when someone buys it. And there's of course the ebook. In case of so self-publishing, if you're ever doing it, you know, there's lots of information out there, very easy to do, very straightforward. You can get people who can help you do the cover, or you can do the cover yourself, not too complicated. Somebody can type canva.com is a great place to make book covers. Very easy, 5-minute job, and just, you know, use that to self-publish your book. And you can then also call yourself an author. Honestly, when you start embodying yourself as that author, even if it's through self-publishing, it will add a lot of value to you becoming a published author. So in case of traditional publishing, there are small-time publishers, there are larger publishers. I'm happy to be with the publisher who reached out to me. I didn't dig around too much. Who was also semi-academic. So that was really important to me. I think Oxford and Sage publications are the only ones that are semi-academic. Penguin, while all these other folks are more mainstream. So I do aspire to, you know, finish a PhD, and I have a research paper. I have a study that's in the works on a coaching model that I have come up with as part of my work. So I'm hoping to take that to the books on demand thing is Pothi.com and Notion Press, and also Amazon. So these are good platforms where you can upload. Once you have the book written, you upload it. No, obviously nobody buys the book unless you market it, to be honest. But at least you can print it out and you can share it with your clients, and you can kind of, you know, I've noticed that the clients are always very curious to hear their coaches' thoughts, because the coaches have helped transform their lives, or whatever profession you are in where you are transforming people's lives through your work. So just that's a first good step in that direction. The royalty that you get is very minimal. If you go with a smaller publisher, or you could have a different publisher in the United States or a different country, the royalty rates with the smaller publishers are higher. But for the first big book, you know, the marketing that the larger publishers do, like for example, my book was splashed in Hindustan Times all over, you know, India, Mumbai, Delhi, North, Lucknow, Jalandhar, Haryana, and all of these places as a hot new read. So imagine the exposure that you get, and a larger publisher is able to offer that. So I have a whole bunch of interviews and sessions lined up, which has been set up by the publisher, and I'm doing a lot of the promotions on my own as well. So there are advantages to a larger publisher. If monetizing is important to you, you might want to consider a smaller publisher. Like I said, this is just going deeper. I didn't move the slide on time, my bad. But ebooks, print books, and print on demand. Formatting is simple for ebooks, inexpensive publishing option, fast publication process, global access on Amazon. The moment you put it on KDP, it goes to all the Amazons of the world. However, with my book, with my publisher also, the hard copy of my book is available right from New Zealand to Denmark to, you know, different places. The first one, Team Decision Making, also got sold in Italy and on all of these places. I think it's because the title was very catchy. With the print books, it's the costlier option, obviously smaller niche market. Formatting is more complicated, and there's greater control over the final product. Print on demand is available to all. It's an eco-friendly option. It has a lower cost of printing, obviously, than the other books. These are some other self-publishing sites, Booktango, Blurb. The royalty that you get is different in different sites. So Amazon, Kindle Direct, and Notion. I think for India, there are a couple of others, like I said, Poti and Notion Press are good ones for India. In traditional, again, publishing, what is the time right now? Okay, we are 8, so I'm going to almost come to a wrap, but no money investment from you, but there is some money investment because all the illustrations and all of that, you have to do it yourself. But in the promotions, it's up to you. So there is some money investment, but it's a broader distribution. By the way, the publisher took 5 months from the time I handed over the manuscript. There's a contract and you have to finish on time. And then they did all the proofing work, the cover. They just take a little bit of input from you. So there's a little less control, but they take care of all of that. And I think it's come out really beautiful. I have Marshall Goldsmith's recommendation. So this is nice piece, you know. I was a little bit too pushy about the color I wanted and they were not. So there's a little bit of that you have to work with the publisher on. This is a legacy. The royalty will go to your children or the people you nominate. There is a proposal that you need to write for traditional publishing, and that proposal is almost like a book. And when I started writing the proposal for my first book, it was a very frustrating process. And that's why, thankfully, I thankfully resorted to the, ebook and self-published book. So this is a business plan for your book. You have to write it, even if you have a manuscript. There's different sections in the book. So if you want to take a picture of this, luckily for me, the editor who found me, she was really keen on having me on board because she connected with my writing. And so she did a lot of the work for me, and she then told me, can you, she would search for my articles and say, hey, can you write about this? Can you write about that? Because it came to me when I was not actively looking to write a book. So that's the easy part, Ira. It can be easy if you keep the belief that it's all easy. Sample chapters, I had to write 3 chapters as sample before my final. Some people, they will not even ask you to write the sample chapters, but I did have to write 3 sample chapters, and those came from my contacts whom I just interviewed. And I didn't even know, like I said, I would write this chapter, but based on what I was hearing in the industry, the chapters started getting formulated. The marketing is the most important part, because what's the point if it doesn't reach people, right? So for my first book, I did not do too much of a marketing. Client suggested he can do a trailer for a book, he can create a book trailer. And we did that, but I didn't even share it. Obviously now it's a whole nother level of marketing, right? So the publisher, like I said, is doing it. The print featured it, Hindustan Times, and there's a whole bunch of influencers who featured the marketing, the book on several platforms. And any opportunity I get to talk about the book, I'm just seizing it. There is also the digital marketing that I'm doing on my platform, still organic. So that by the time my next book comes out, it will be like the next level. So it is a process, it's a journey, it's fun, it's new, it's exciting. Sometimes I imagine myself to be the lover, like Rashmi mentioned, to be a movie star who's, made a movie and is now going on the couple show and promoting the movie. So it's all about how you want to have fun with it and play with it. And I think that's where I would like to just maybe conclude. And what we covered was why write. It's for your credibility. You have to plan your work and find your voice. You have to know and understand your own process. Take help and publish when and where you can. And you're not alone. Build a support network to help you. There are many people who will help you and support you. You just have to ask for that help. And if you look at the book and you read it, there's brilliant stories and lots of interesting things to gain from, even as a coach. And I guess that's pretty much it. And if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to take them on now. It's 8 o'clock, and so
Bhavna, once again.
Sure. What name? keep the name unique. So Nicola, yes, that is the balance between writing and running the business. Interestingly, I was not, that was not luckily the way things worked out for me. It was not as much of a challenge, but that's another thing I learned as a coach, to become brave about chucking things that are not serving you, even though you have worked hard to get there. And that's been my path every 6 months. So I started getting facilitation workshops, and it was doing very well. And I had to have the courage to stop and say, okay, I will say no to the money right now because I want to work towards a bigger view. Sorry, Rashmi, you were saying something?
Your contact details. Can you just put that next slide after this,
Yes.
where you gave your contact details? One of them asked for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that is the balance where you have to be brave. I think that's the part I didn't cover. So thank you for asking me that question. And I think we do that constantly as coaches as we build our own businesses, where you say no to certain clients because they're sucking more energy out of you and they're not aligned with the larger vision. And I think that's something that you have to keep doing it. And I like the biggest, the most courage I had to gather was recently, like I said, you are always looking for more clients, and I had to actually close my calendar and say no to some clients because I had to put effort in marketing the book and doing all these promotions and preparing and all of that. So imagine something you've dreamed of from the first day you become a coach, and you are at a point where you say no because now you want even higher paying assignments and clients. So the courage part is what gives. Having the courage to be aligned with your purpose and vision is what keeps the balance, to be honest. The contact slide is there. And
there's one interesting question, Bhavna. How long did it take you from idea generation to publishing Ask Manoj?
So, like I said, the idea generation was something that we brainstormed in last year. It took 3 months till we narrowed down the idea with my editor, because she was the one pushing me that, hey, how about this, how about that? And I put in a proposal for a book on executive presence, and she was not very happy about that. And she didn't think it would be a big hot selling item and all of that. So then in the month of May, they told me to write 3 chapters, which I finished in about 1.5 months. And then the manuscript was done in March. So it's almost about, 7 to 8 months is when the entire process happened. And then the publisher took 5 months for the finished product, which I wasn't involved. So to be honest, I forgot all about the book, and then it came back. So challenges that I faced in the process, so many, and yet none, as in the sense that the challenges were about not knowing what to write next, right? There were times when I was like, okay, what do I've written everything I know, what more can I write, right? It was all about that. So it was each time so there's all different components and modalities that came into the picture. It was what I believe in what the people want, what I'm seeing around me. And so it was lots of challenges. The biggest challenges is when you feel completely blank and you don't think that there is anything new that you or anything worthwhile that you have to offer. I think that and then you meditate. So when that happens, you meditate. And then sometimes even meditation did not work. So then I had to do some exercises on myself, or my own coaching exercises. And so there's many, many, many challenges. No, don't plan the whole book in advance. You need some idea of the book, and then you need to let it take its course. So definitely not the whole idea, but the publisher does want an outline of all the chapters, and my editor helped me a little bit there. Any other questions, Rashmi?
Nothing that you haven't taken. You've been pretty smart yourself. You've been able to manage the two. So good job, Bhavna. So,
no, I mean, it's important that...
Okay, this is the most important question, and John always has interesting ones coming up. Is it an organic process to write?
I would point to what I said earlier, where it is organic, yet it's like the creative aspect is organic, and it can become, John, it can be very, well, I did follow that path where it can be extremely organic, but you have to do the work on yourself constantly. So if you are constantly refining your, like I said, if you're constantly looking inwards, then the outwards becomes very easy. So yes, it is organic. I cannot say it's not organic, but at the same time, what is the opposite of organic, John? In this case, what is the opposite of organic?
I think, John, can you just come on off mute and ask? Because that, I think, is a question many people have.
Yeah, so again, I would ask to people what organic means to each and every person, and what inorganic means. So if that can be clarified, I think that is going to be very individual to individual people. So to me, yeah.
So Bhavna, when you said, like for example, Anuradha asked this question whether you plan the book in advance, and you said no, which means that the process of writing is you start with an idea and then you keep building on it, and you keep refine it as you go along. So that was my, that was what I was thinking about it being organic. That
yes,
it organically evolves.
It absolutely does evolve organically, and I think if you're going to give a lot of weightage to the creative aspect of it, then you have to. And like I said, I was amazed by parts of the process myself, because I was discovering that process as I went along. And it will be different for each book. There will be more and more that I'll discover. But there was this chapter, like I said, on influence, where I desperately wanted to write about something fresh. What is it that influence that I can offer, which has not been already put in these 3 other books, right? There's different power, and I have done workshops around influence. So I knew that there was all this conversation, and it took me a month of a lot of interesting, work that I did on myself, on discovering influence for myself, which helped me come up with a very unique way of presenting influence. And like I said, the distinction between men and women and how they influence differently, where we are equal but different, and how are we different energetically. So there's a lot of, it's not only organic, it's organic and yes. So again, no black and white, it's all gray.
Yeah, and Bhavna, what you said about going inside is also a very valid point, as an author, going inside and then getting that out. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh yes, please. So that's the most important takeaway that I got from this book. That the better, and that's been my takeaway even in coaching. The more and more I worked on myself, the better a coach I became, and the more easily my clients found me.
Guys, if you have any more questions, kindly unmute and ask. You don't need to take the trouble of typing it. You can unmute and ask Bhavna your question, because if you don't have, then we can end the session.
Yeah. So Gone with the Wind was written last chapter first. I completely can respect this process after having gone through it, and it's the wild ride that I took on my own within me. So many things I've even forgotten. I can completely believe anything and everything about the writing process. So I will not say that this is the right way or the only way. There are many ways, and each person has to kind of identify in a nutshell. To become that writer, you have to sort of align with yourself more and more to see whether it makes sense for you or how it makes sense for you. I think Surekha has a question. What is office politics? Answer after you finish question on writing the book. Surekha, sorry to ask you, but what do you think is office politics? Bye, Manoj. You're welcome, Pandu. So, in the interest of time, I'm not hearing from Surekha. Oh, Surekha, you want to say? You are muted. What do you think?
No, you go ahead. I want to learn from you.
Okay. Office politics is nothing about human needs. It is the need to do well, to, it's about our aspirations, our ambition. It's also about connection. And in a nutshell, that's what office politics is. That's why we do the things we do to get ahead. So it's about our values of achievement and success, or which lead to being worthy, right? When we become successful, others around us look at us differently, and then our own self-worth goes up. So if we get that promotion, or if we get a higher pay, or if we get a job in a better company, what we are actually really doing is looking for affirmation and looking for more proof of being, either intelligent or accomplished or worthy. So it's basically a fund of office politics stems from there. It's the need to shine, to get ahead. It's the need. So it's that, and then another area of office politics is influence, right? From stemming from that need, how do you operate? And that's why each of the chapter, like there's a chapter on relationships, there's a chapter on influence, there's a chapter on personalities, and then there is a chapter on the common politics. But the fundamental, if I were to answer your question, it stems from our very basic human needs.
Yeah, and I may want to add a little bit here, if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
So absolutely well said, and that's exactly what I thought in mind. But there's one more aspect. One is about our own success and how we kind of push ourselves forward. It is also when you fail, how you externalize the problem and attribute it to politics. So a little bit of that also is included in politics.
Absolutely.
If somebody else succeeds and we fail, it is attributed to politics at one level.
Yes, and there's a very extensive, you are absolutely right, and it's very well put, and there's a very extensive chapter on, this triangle model that I've used in the book, and about the victim, the rescuer, and the perpetuator, right? So whenever something happens, there's an in-depth explanation of that when we don't succeed, and that's my objective, quite honestly, to get people out of that victim mindset. That's always the surest. The frequency of the problem is different from the frequency of the solution, and the victim mindset keeps us in the frequency of the problem and prevents us from. There is positive politics, and I talk about good politics and bad politics in the book as well. What is positive politics? What is negative politics? And how do you differentiate? How do you come to know when positive? And there's by the way, there's in Daily Pioneer, there's a long article coming up from me. It's a 2,000-word article in which I talk about good politics and bad politics in even more depth. So there's a lot in the book, and then there is also in the article. So thank you very much for all of those people who found it valuable, and I do hope that I'll know it's valuable when everybody is able to start writing a little bit more. So over to you, Rashmi.
Yeah, acknowledging the good that you already have in your life is the foundation of all abundance, said Eckhart Tolle. And I can see it in you for being so authentic and vulnerable, Bhavna. And a formal vote of thanks from our Vice President, Lenny, who's here. So Lenny, over to you.
Thanks, Rashmi. Bhavna, congratulations on 2 counts. One is the last time I met you and where you are today as a person. Incredible journey, and really congratulations. From
Lenny, everybody has to know that you were my first contact in coaching. Remember, I can never forget you ever. Lenny was responsible for helping me get my first breakthrough. Of course, it was Ram and all of those 6 days of training. But at the end of the last day, at the last minute, something happened and I was unblocked then. The first breakthrough that I had on this journey, and Lenny was the one person who helped me overcome, and I was in tears when I was standing there talking to Lenny. So I cannot tell you how grateful I am, and I often think of that, and I'm so, every time we pass Shilton Hotel, I think of you, Lenny, and I say a quiet thank you to you.
That's your humility speaking, and that just showcased your journey as a coach, Bhavna. Congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing from your heart, everything that, all the milestones. And I'm so happy to see that there were so many members that really want to be on this journey. And I think even as a person, I've just seen you grow so much. It's such a inspiration to see that happen. Thank you so much for being here today. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks to you, everyone at Kocharya. My entire journey was done through Kocharya at that time. But no, I think it's the support of so many coaches that has made this such a rich journey. But I'm so grateful to everybody who was here today and gave me an opportunity to speak about things clearly, you know, I'm passionate about. And I put in the link of the book. Please do get it if you can get a chance to, and maybe use that as a framework if it helps. But do write something today, even if it's one sentence. But take that first step, everybody.
Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Rashmi and Vasu, for coordinating everything. It was such a pleasure working with you guys, and so grateful for ICF and all the great work that they do and have formed this organization. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks for staying up late.
Yeah, stay safe, stay blessed, and Bhavna, continue your magic.
Thank you.
All the
This is inspiring for me. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. You too.